Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to ask the honourable member, the Minister for the Environment, Food and Agriculture, how his department A ensures that appropriate levels of resources and expertise are in place to ensure proper protection of registered buildings, and B, how his department provides a satisfactory level of specialist advice to owners of registered buildings and properties in conservation areas, and if he will make a statement, please. Thank you, Mr. President.
On the Minister for Environment, Food and Agriculture, Mr. Booth.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Department has a funded post of a Registered Buildings Officer. That role is primarily to register buildings and assist in the determination of applications for alterations to registered buildings. The post holder would also advise and assist with enforcement matters. As you are probably aware, the post holder recently left the Department in April. Recruitment for a replacement began prior to his departure, the advertisement being placed on and off island. Unfortunately, the only suitable applicant very recently declined to take the position. The role of the Department is primarily regulatory. That is, we must determine applications submitted to us. It is not the job of the Registered Buildings Officer to be the specialist advisor to property owners for all buildings, although I accept that part of the role of any government officer is to assist and guide where possible. Until a replacement officer is found, then this duty will fall on the planning team. I can confirm that we have now initiated another recruitment process.
Supplementary, Mrs. Maska.
Thank you, Minister, for that answer. I'm very grateful for that. Would the Minister not agree that historically in the past the role of the Registered Buildings Officer did not exist as such? It used to be a conservation officer assisted by an assistant conservation officer, and at that time there were also grants in place to assist the owners of registered buildings and properties in conservation areas and others who had buildings of a certain age that needed to carry out essential repairs in an appropriate manner. However, under the UNESCO Biosphere Pledge, we as an island have pledged that we will care for not just our historic built environment as well as the green landscape that surrounds us. And how does the situation that we find ourselves in currently, where there is no grant assistance, no registered buildings officer, no conservation officer and no funding whatsoever to assist people care for our historic environment, how does that actually support the pledge that we have made under the biosphere? Thank you, Mr. President.
Minister to reply.
Thank you, Mr. President. Quite a raft of questions there. The Honourable Member for Council, Mrs. Maska, obviously has benefits of some history in planning and predates my involvement on island. I'm not aware of the Conservation Officer set up, but I inherited a situation where we had a registered building officer, and that is a fully funded post, and there has been assistance available, but recruitment is very difficult at the moment, and that doesn't just apply to registered building officers with expertise, but to planning officers per se. Very difficult recruitment process. When it comes to grants, etc., yes, I believe grants were available in the past. Unfortunately, funding cuts, etc., have meant that grants are no longer available. We do visit that from time to time, but there are other priorities. When it comes to advice in the conservation sector, our team does help wherever possible, but if expertise is required, there is expertise in the private sector, and they can always access that in due course. With regard to how we've been trying to deal with this, we did have conversations with Manx National Heritage and the Building and Conservation Forum, as we did try very hard to involve them in the process, but at the time there was no appetite, although I understand that a conversation has reopened in that respect. But it would be nice to tap into the third sector or other help to register or monitor registration of buildings going forward to meet our biosphere commitments. And there is no lack of commitment from my department to meet those commitments.
Supplementary, Mrs. Maska.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll finalise my question now. But is the Minister satisfied that the current situation is a satisfactory situation, one that we as an island can be proud of? And I met with many of our guests for the Tynwald festivities, and conversations came up. They were all absolutely overawed by the quality of our landscape and our historic buildings. But when it became evident that there is no financial support to maintain our historic heritage, some were really quite shocked. And is this situation one that we should just allow to carry on without some major input and revision? Thank you, Minister.
Minister to reply.
Thank you, Mr. President. Am I satisfied with the current situation? No. Would I like to see grants reinstated? Yes. But that's a matter for government and Treasury and the money that is available. I can say, however, that we are apparently the best place in the British Isles to live, and our heritage and buildings and culture contribute to that, and they are there. They're not all falling apart. The planning system itself does constrain and restrict what happens to some of these buildings. Yes, we could do more, and it would be nice to do more, but I think the situation at the moment is such that we can be proud of what we've got.